A quick video on how to create a logo. Here we have a beautiful logo as designed by one of our students, Neve. Well done, Neve. And I'm just going to show you how you can turn a sketch into a lovely little logo like the one we have here on the screen. Now I'm just going to turn on my layers over here on the side, and you can see we started off with a little sketch in the background. So we'll see what the sketch looked like. I'm going to grab this sketch and put it onto a new page. So file, new. The size page we used is not overly important right now, and you guys can just use your photo booth to take a picture of the image. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use our little layers panel on the side. So it's like two sheets of paper just over on the side here. And if you can't see all of these options, what I suggest is to go to Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials Classic, and it gives you all the options that I have on my screen. Now, next up, what we're going to do is we are going to lock our bottom layer, and from there we are just going to create a new layer, and on the new layer we're going to create our base circle. So we're going to use this circle for a few things. It's going to be the outer perimeter of our logo. We use the ellipse tool. Now if we click in the middle here, you can see the ellipse starts moving out from the middle, but if we hold Shift and Option, it'll move out perfectly and expand out from the center. We'll go with that. Now you can see here we have a fill and no stroke over on the side. So what I'm going to do is click on my default settings and click on no fill, and now we have our stroke, so we can see what's in the background. And we've done that on layer 2. It's good to start naming your layers. So I'm just going to call this base circle. Now from here, what I'd like to do is I'll probably move on to the clouds next. So I'll create another layer over here with a little plus. Call that clouds. Make sure I've clicked on that layer, and I'm going to use the pen tool next. It's just over here, or you can use the shortcut P. And with the pen tool, I click and hold. Notice how I'm just outside the shape. That'll make sense now in a moment. So we don't need to click directly on the edge of the circle, because we're going to use a clipping mask to chop off the outer edge of this cloud. Let's try and get a rounded edge on the bottom left corner of that cloud. That'll be okay for now. And what I want to do is make sure I join up that shape. So now that cloud is completely joined. I'll do the same over here. Go for a flat edge this time. We can come back and edit it later if we don't like it. And what I do on the outside here is not overly important. So basically we're going to clip all of this excess off. The key is that the cloud is an entire shape. Get my next cloud. So every time I create a shape with the pen tool, it's good to click on the last endpoint. Okay, we have our 3 clouds. Now those clouds are going to be in the way soon, so I can turn them off just so I can't see them while I'm doing my mountains. But what I'd like to do as well is if I hold down Shift, I can select all 3 clouds right now and turn them into happy little clouds with a white fill. Here we go, just white over there already. Looking good. Back to my layers panel. Now your layers panel will keep disappearing unless you drag it up out onto the side, which is kind of handy. If there's a tool you're often using, it's good to drag it out to the side, I find. Now, so I'll turn off my clouds, they are done. We'll focus on the mountains next. So it's very easy to forget what layer you're working on or forget to create a new layer. So just be conscious of that. I'll go to layer floor. That's going to be my mountains. Now, because the fill is on, it's a little bit kind of hard to see the background, so I'll just turn off my fill for a moment. I can see here that I'm just inside the edge, so that'll be okay. So it's always good that your line, this bottom line has to be outside the circle. That's okay. And what I will do from here, rather than doing the two mountains this time, what I think I'll do is I will just create one mountain and copy paste it over to the other side. Maybe change the scale a little bit. That's good. Now, to avoid problems later, I'm actually going to create the snow on top of the mountain. So that'll make sense now. So here we go. Should do in a moment. Here we go. So this is going to be the snow. We're still on our mountains layer. And from here, I'll just come up to, you can see the old anchor point. If I zoom in here, I'll actually be able to click on the old anchor point. Come over to the other one. There we go. And now that'll mean I'll be able to get the same curve on the top. Good, so what I have here is I have a mountain in the background. I'll make that green. So if you double click on the fill, you can just choose the color. For dark green. And the shape on the top can be my snow. Beautiful, so what I'll do now is I'll just copy paste this guy. Excuse me, so what I could have done there is if I click on the snow and click on the mountain, I can group them together, and now I can just select all this as one item, Command C, Command V. And I feel we may move, yeah, so we can play around with this a little bit. I feel the mountain in the background should be a little bit lower down, and the colors should be a little bit different. So I'm going to change the color of the mountain in the foreground, and I can bring it into the foreground by going arrange and bring to front. Beautiful. Change the color. Just ungroup this for a moment. Okay, so we got our two mountains, foreground and background. Get our colors a little bit more similar maybe. That's good. So this is what we have so far. A nice little trick is, you can see my clouds are behind the mountains, which would be a little bit silly. So I can actually drag that layer up to the top. And now my clouds are in front of the mountain. Okay, things are looking a tiny bit messy at the moment, but that'll all rectify itself pretty soon. So let's turn off our mountains, our clouds. And this is the point where we're going to duplicate our base circle here. So I've clicked on the base circle layer and I'm going to copy this one. And I'm going to create a new layer up at the very top. And this layer is going to be my gradient layer. So that's going to be the background sky. Now you can see when I click on my base circle here, it's actually back on the base circle layer. So when I click on the gradient layer, what I actually have to do is go Command, Shift, and V, and I've actually pasted that shape onto this new layer. So when I click on this guy, you can see it's still on the gradient layer. Over on the side here, we've got some gradients. They just live right here. And I'm just going to go with the orange yellow for now. And I'm going to edit this gradient. So you can see here that we've got some little sliders so we can change the effect. I'm going for a bit of a sunset feel here. I'll just stick with the red and orange for now. So you can see the little rotate button has popped up. Just to get the sunset looking normal. So it's pretty cool too. I'll go with that for now. Now my gradients does need to be in the background, so I could have actually created that layer down here. That's looking pretty good for now. So at this stage, if I go back to my base image, so I'll turn off all my layers, and layer 1 is my reference image. So basically I've created everything I need there. So what I will do is just turn everything back on. I haven't created my font yet, Dreamer. So let's create a new layer there real quick before. Actually, I'm tempted, before I do my Dreamer font, I will use the clipping mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select everything on the screen using Command A, but there is one little trick I need to do first. I'm going to copy paste this outer perimeter circle, Command C and Command Shift V. That has just pasted it on top of itself. I'm going to drag it down here now. I'll just turn off the fill. There we go. Now we're going to need that guy later. And just to be safe, I'll create a new layer here. Do all this on a new layer. So I've actually copied that twice. And what I'm going to do is pop it over the top here, make sure it's lined up perfectly. And because it's when using a clipping mask, you need to make sure that your cutting tool, your actual circle that's going to do the cutting, is at the front. Okay, it's on the top. So what I'm going to do here now is select all of this and go to Object, Clipping Mask, and Make. And what that has done is it has just chopped out everything from around the border. Now, you could see that when you use a clipping mask, notice that we don't have a lovely black outline all the way around. So what I've done here is, that's why I copied my circle, so I can bring it over here. And now we can still have our black outline as long as I bring that circle to the front. Now the last thing at this stage is just to click on your font tool, your type tool, and so you could be super basic and choose this font. I suggest not. What I'm going to do is go over here, I'm going to increase the font size, we can line it up later, and then you can conveniently just click over on the font. And you can scroll through here for something that suits your design. So for Dreamer, we're chasing a nice flowy font. Here's the font, like the avatar font. I don't think we want that one. The stems on this font are a little bit skinny, so we'll try and find something better. This guy is pretty close, so we'll go with this one for now. Increase the font size. And at this stage now, we could start playing around with different things like changing the size of the mountains. Maybe our Dreamer is getting a little bit lost with all of the outlines of the mountains. So at this stage now, we have a logo that is fine, but at this stage we will start experimenting with the logo to come up with something a little bit more striking. And that is one way to create a logo in Adobe Illustrator.